The specimen arrived in a beige canvas bag, not ceremonial transportation, not a stasis pod. A bag, the kind our labor caste uses for grain shipments. The human sat inside it with their knees drawn up, eating something from a crinkled silver wrapper. They didn't look up when the guards opened the hatch. "This is your champion?" I asked the human diplomatic liaison. She shrugged. Actual shoulder movement. "He volunteered. The pit has claimed 10,000 of the galaxy's finest. Cortex berserkers who'd never tasted defeat, Velane quick minds who could calculate death angles in milliseconds, Druhani pack fighters who moved like liquid mercury. All dead within the first 90 seconds. The pit doesn't care about strength or speed or tactical brilliance. The human, designation Gregor Fisk, unremarkable biometrics, no combat citations, stepped out of his bag and asked where the bathroom was. I'm trained to observe. That's all this is. Observation. The pit is a perfect cube, 20 meters per side. Walls the color of dried blood, though analysis confirms no organic material. Temperature, constant. Humidity, optimal for most species. Gravity, standard. It shouldn't be lethal. That's what makes it unforgivable. Every champion enters convinced they'll be different. They study the previous attempts. We've got recordings from 8,000 of them. They see the pattern. Confidence becomes confusion, becomes something else, becomes thrashing, becomes stillness. They think they can outsmart it. Gregor Fisk entered carrying a yellow notebook and a pen that kept clicking when he fidgeted with it. He didn't study the walls, didn't test the floor. He sat down cross-legged in the northwest corner, opened the notebook to a page already half-filled with small, cramped handwriting, and resumed what appeared to be a partially completed crossword. "Puzzle? Aren't you going to—" I started. "Nope," he said. Click, click, click with the pen. That was 11 hours ago. He solved 4 puzzles, napped twice, and performed some sort of rhythmic movement exercise that made his joints produce a small popping. Sounds. He hasn't touched the walls, hasn't even looked at them for more than 3 seconds. The walls haven't done anything either. This doesn't make sense. The Cortex champion lasted 89 seconds before she started clawing her own face. The Velane made it to 140 seconds. His quick mind couldn't stop thinking about what the walls were, how they worked, what they meant, until his brain matter leaked from his auditory canals. Gregor Fisk has been inside for 51 hours. He's been singing. Badly. The same song fragment over and over, something about a road and where it goes. Doesn't know all the words. Substitutes humming for the parts he's forgotten. When he gets thirsty, he drinks from the canteen he brought. When he gets hungry, he eats ration bars from his bag. When he gets tired, he sleeps. The walls shimmer. Sometimes. I think they're trying. I watched him for 6 straight hours yesterday. At hour 4, I realized he was staring at a small water stain on the ceiling. Just a discoloration, meaningless. And his expression was completely empty. Not peaceful, not meditative, just absent, like a machine in standby mode. "What are you thinking about?" I asked through the comm. "Nothing." Click, click, click. "That's not possible." "Isn't it?" He went back to his crossword. 7-letter word for inevitable. I don't know why I remember that. I'm not supposed to be running cognitive scans without clearance, but I had to know. The pit works by amplification. Whatever you are, your core drive, your survival instinct, your need to understand, it magnifies that until it cracks you open. The Cortex's warrior pride became suicidal rage. The Velane's analytical mind became recursive paralysis. The Druhani's pack bond became howling isolation. Gregor Fisk's brain activity barely changed between his baseline scan and hour 73 inside the pit. He'd been reading a small book with a faded cover, something he called a murder mystery, but not a good one. I watched his eyes track the words. I watched him turn pages. When he reached the end, he made a sound that might have been disappointment, started the book over from the beginning, and kept reading. "The killer was the husband," I said through the comm. "You already know how it ends." "Yeah. So why keep reading?" He dog-eared a page. "What else am I going to do?" The walls had stopped shimmering. They looked almost matte now, defeated, if walls could be defeated. My mentor taught me that all sentient species share certain core traits: curiosity, fear, desire, purpose. These aren't cultural, they're biological. Survival depends on them. Gregor Fisk appears to be missing several. He's been in there for 103 hours. The previous record was 11 minutes and 8 seconds, held by a Zen meditation master who'd supposedly achieved perfect ego death. She lasted until she started wondering if she'd achieved ego death, and the wondering killed her. Fisk isn't meditating. He's just there, existing at the pit the same way he'd exist in a waiting room or a slow-moving queue. I asked him if he was afraid. Of what? Dying, going mad, being trapped. He thought about it, really thought I could see him chewing the inside of his cheek. Not really, no. I mean, I'd prefer not to. But it's not like I can do anything about it from in here, so… Click, click, click. Worrying seems like a waste of time. What about boredom? What about it? Doesn't it bother you? He looked directly at the observation window. His eyes were the color of old dishwater. "Lady, I once spent 9 years working data entry for an insurance company. Bored is just what I am. They're going to open the pit tomorrow. Gregor Fisk has been inside for 126 hours. He's developed a small rash on his neck from not showering, and his sleep schedule has shifted entirely nocturnal, but his cognitive markers remain stable. The pit has nothing left to amplify." He submitted my preliminary findings to the council. Human psychology may contain a survival mechanism previously unobserved in sentient species: the capacity for sustained, profound disengagement from circumstance. Not meditation, not dissociation, something more like voluntary irrelevance. They asked me to clarify. I couldn't. How do you destroy something that refuses to be destroyed because it can't muster enough interest to care about being destroyed? The pit functions by turning your strengths into weapons against yourself. But Gregor Fisk doesn't seem to have strengths or weaknesses. He's just a man who exists and keeps existing, because the alternative would require effort. He's been humming that song again. Still doesn't know all the words. The pit opened at dawn. Gregor Fisk walked out smelling like sweat and old paper, carrying his yellow notebook and his bag of half-eaten rations. The medical team swarmed him. Vitals, cognitive tests, trauma screenings, all normal, slightly dehydrated, otherwise fine. "How did you do it?" I asked him. He scratched the rash on his neck. "Do what?" "Survive. 10,000 champions couldn't last 2 minutes. You lasted 5 days. "Oh." He clicked his pen. "I just kind of waited around until somebody let me out. They're calling him a hero now. The human delegation is already drafting propaganda. Proof of human resilience, human exceptionalism, human superiority. They've missed the point entirely. Gregor Fisk didn't conquer the pit. He bored it into submission. He outlasted cosmic horror the same way he outlasted traffic jams and system updates and mandatory staff meetings, by simply not caring enough to break. I don't know if that's inspiring or terrifying." He left his pen on my desk. It still clicks when you press it. I keep it in my pocket now. Sometimes, when the research compound feels too quiet, I click it twice and think about roads that go nowhere, and singers who can't remember the words, and the way a perfectly empty mind looks exactly like perfect peace. We're decommissioning the pit next month. There's no point studying a weapon that stops working the moment someone decides it isn't worth their attention. I do not know why I remember the rash on his neck, but I do.